What is going on with my glasses?
Oh yeah.
You are way too far over there. I get.
Do you know the muffin man?
I'm glad I got that in your head.
Yes.
So yes, Miss Nancy.
Yes, Miss Nancy. Okay.
Look it.
We should get that tape for our necks. Or we'll just stand there and like, wait, here we go. You gotta do this.
Are you gonna pull?
Yeah.
We have the filter on us.
I think so. Yeah, we
skin
definitely
looks
do.
pretty fabulous there. I'll tell you what. Okay. Hi, Amber.
Hi.
Are we working?
I think so. They said there were two.
We want to do full screen, right? Or do we not?
No, we can definitely do full screen. I need to get that camo thing up just in case, actually.
It's our COVID wall.
Right. Okay, should we let him in?
What time is it?
55, 5 minutes.
Sure. We can get everybody set.
Well, maybe not. Maybe we should just wait. I don't know. I'm all nervous now.
3 minutes more. All right. We have to remember not to chew like horses. All right. Shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's a bunch of people. That's Mitchell. Mitchell.
Hello.
Hi, Michelle.
How are you guys?
We are just lovely.
I know.
Hi, everybody else. Hi, Jennifer. You look cute. I love your glasses.
Oh,
Hi, Cindy. Hi, Andrea. Glad you guys could make it today.
How do I do the Brady Bunch style?
Oh, yeah. Does anybody know how to view everybody on screen at once?
it says right. Top right.
View. Okay, right here.
Gallery. Okay. Good work. Andrea, we can't see you or Cindy or Jennifer.
They don't have, I told them they didn't have to be.
Oh, okay. Okay. I don't want to offend anyone. Oh, there's one. Hi. Can you guys hear us okay? Yeah. Are they muted? We got this new fancy microphone that we're using today.
Oh, wow.
Very professional.
They have the option to mute when they aren't on, so it's not interfering.
You should think I'd know this by now.
We're figuring it out.
Yeah. Cindy, is Cindy here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. We got yours. Yours was the most complicated. You win.
Oh, no.
And then is Jane, where's everybody's names? Why aren't their names on their pictures? Fix that.
I was going to send in a question, but I totally spaced it. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. You can always throw it out. And if we can't answer it, we can't answer
Well, it's
it.
just about the Little Smith torch. I can't stand it and want to hurl it. Well, I keep going back to my settling, which I love, but it's just, I can never get the heat right. I just
Have to have, the mixture of oxygen. And you using propane with it?
yes, propane oxygen.
Propane oxygen. You want that really hard blue flame. So you want to keep adding oxygen.
Yeah. I keep doing it bushy, and it's just it doesn't like me.
Well, add more oxygen to it really slowly until you get a really nice, sharp, tight flame on it. I like a big flame to work with. I'm used to my acetylene air with the big tip on it, and I do everything with this big tip.
I do too. I love it.
The Smith Little Torch is fabulous for a lot of people for doing tiny findings, or if you want to get in quick and get out fast, I'd say that's probably one of the most beneficial things for like a stone in place repair. I think we're gonna start talking about Cindy's question because it's the most complicated. So she has two questions essentially. I watched your video on hinge making that demonstrated hinges, but these were flat pieces of metal back to back. She wants hinging for poison rings and lockets and soldering them. One of the things is that back to back thing. Most lockets and poison rings use that same concept. Hinges and hinge baits caches by Charles Luton Brain. And in here, he's got, this is the classic one for lockets right here. You make a straight hinge and you file off the corners on the outer two pieces, and that creates that round shape. You follow the shape of the locket that you're making, like on this. I'm going to cut in front of you.
Okay.
Movement. If you make it, try to make a curved hinge, it's going to lock on you. So the only other way that I know to do it.
Here's this too.
Yeah. Okay. So see these two domed halves here. What you would do is you would file a flat spot on here, and then you come in with like a joint file or what's a chenier file, the same thing where the filing edges are on
Okay.
a rounded side, and you make your groove in there and drop the hinging down inside of the locket. Does that make sense, Cindy?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so my big question was that little tiny area of solder, Nancy. At one time, you had used some like white out to like make
Right.
sure that the solder didn't go. So I'm
Right.
just assuming we can still use that same principle, even though it's this tiny little tiny thing.
It's
you
just
know?
more of a pain in the tush.
Okay,
It's the
because I
same
got.
concept you used. You can make yellow ochre up to.
I did do some filing down, like when you set the three little knuckles on like the locket that I did once. And it worked great. It was great,
Okay.
but yeah,
Yeah, you file these
yeah,
down. and-
I just had a bee of a time getting the solder not to go everywhere. I tried the paste, I tried just a little piece of the hard.
I think that a really fine tipped paintbrush. Don't put any flux anywhere near the hinge you don't want to solder. If you can,
Okay, great, okay.
and use either the white out or the yellow ochre. That yellow ochre comes in really handy for pattern material too.
Would you recommend, like, if I set the three knuckles and then take one away, you know what I mean? Like, just start with put the three knuckles in, take one away, solder the first two, and then solder the
Oh
other.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, awesome.
I watched my video again today because I did that 9 years ago. And yeah, that's what I did is I
Yeah.
think I soldered the two outer knuckles first. Some people also, you can also take a strip of tubing and mark where your center knuckle is going to be, saw down, and actually after you've soldered that whole strip of tubing down, you just cut out your center with a saw. So there's that, and
Oh,
then use files
shoot,
to clean it
okay.
up. And then you just measure
Cool.
that gap with your dividers or your calipers and cut a piece of tubing to that side and solder it to the other side.
Sweet. That sounds
So
way
this
better for me.
book is really good. You really, honestly, I recommend it. And
Yeah.
also,
Okay.
this is Vanna White Jr. over here. Paul Revere, Alan Revere has professional jewelry making
Oh,
book,
yeah,
and
yeah.
he's got a whole thing on how to make a multi-phase locket in here with a curved
and photos.
Okay, cool.
and
Well-
he does the same thing where he files the outer edges of that hinge down. So
Okay.
those are two great books that I think, and they're the only ones I've seen any kind of locket information in. Okay, so Cindy had another question. Amber and I both looked at this and went, oh my God. Tricky. So what she wants to do is solder half jump rings on a 1 millimeter thick piece of silver, I'm assuming, Cindy?
Yeah, yeah. But I'll
So-
take any suggestions because I threw that thing across the room a couple
Well,
times.
Yeah. Honestly, cutting jump rings in half, depending on how big they are, could make you insane.
Yeah.
But you're gonna have to get that strip as flat as possible. I don't, soldering it on a curve really kind of maybe could make you insane.
Yeah, okay.
So we were thinking, like, if you have, this is a really skunky one, but a magnesia block, which is really soft.
I do.
Make yourself some staples to put over the ends or in the middle to make sure that metal is uber flat.
Okay.
And then mark out with your dividers, where your beginning and end of your centers of your jump ring, your half jump rings are going to be, you know what I mean? You
Yeah.
want to mark the centers
Okay.
with your dividers, and then move down your strip with the dividers marking as you go. Honestly, I would do one at a time. I would never stack them up,
Okay.
And one of the misconceptions, and I've had this myself because I was taught this way, is that you have to heat the whole piece completely. The truth of the matter is I would heat this thing in that, like if I'm soldering a half jump ring here, I would just heat that area. I wouldn't put my torch anywhere else.
All right.
You may also benefit from using, where's the tripod?
I tested that the other day. I didn't believe her. And it worked.
So another one is if you have not this screen, this is a bad screen. Actually, this works for many things, but not for what you need. But if you could get a nice brand new flat screen and put that up here, you could wire your back piece of metal through the little holes to pull it tight, and then heat from underneath.
Oh, got
And
you.
only in the spot you're trying to heat. That jump ring's so small compared to the other mass of the metal that you probably wouldn't even have to come up on top once.
Oh, awesome. Okay,
Thank you.
Nancy.
I also thought, because it will be annealed, and if you give yourself a little wiggle room on the ends, you could just use a mandrel and form it after
By hand.
Oh, okay. All right.
Once you solder these on, your metal's going to be soft, and it should be easier for you to hand bend. If you have to, if you could have a plastic mallet.
Okay.
And carefully, because what I'm concerned with is that if you
the
pull
thin jump rings.
that depending on how robust your jump rings are, if they're like 10 gauge, you're probably not going to have as much chance of crushing them. But if they're 18 or something, you could definitely smash them. But you might be able to curl those edges or use pliers.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's a little bit on the edges, or maybe I'm just thinking throw some toothpicks in there, or like little pins or something if they're tiny when you form it. I don't know.
Oh,
To keep the jump rings from marring. I don't know.
Use wire. That's a great. I would wire in there.
Right, yeah.
So, and then there's these bail making pliers, which are great for curling ends. They make them round too.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Lubbers.
I love those things.
Love the Webbers.
So weird. So do you feel answered?
I do feel absolutely answered. Thanks, girls, very much.
Good. Michelle has what the heck did you photograph this on, by the way?
We get great detail.
Check this.
Yes, it's it's the faux fur. I love that. I knew
it's a blanket.
It's a blanket.
Oh wait, it's my blanket.
Oh, it's cute.
When I first saw it, I thought you photographed on your dog.
It's pink. This is my divorce blanket.
Well, I knew what it was.
I love a divorce blanket. I needed a divorce shotgun for my first husband.
Well, That's next. That's my birthday present.
Oh, congratulations. So Michelle has essentially what she's got here is a pendant, and it's got a brass center bird, and then she's got some hammer texturing, and she also has powdered silver. You know, what's another word for powder?
Silver dust.
Dust.
Silver dust. And then she's also got a wall around it, like a bezel almost, that's unset, and then a
Frame, maybe.
that's a good word. You need
We're
to have a
working together.
dictionary hanging out with you. And then she has a little bail here with a jump ring on it. So her question was basically, what were the steps, right, Michelle?
Mm-hmm.
So Amber and I talked about this a lot yesterday.
We didn't write it down though.
I know what
Okay.
we said though. I
I
can
know.
remember that stuff. I
I-
can't remember words. So I would definitely saw out my back plate, right? Then I would sweat solder that bird on with, even if you have, I don't know if you have IT or eutectic solder, a real high melting. If you don't, use hard
Okay.
solder on that. And then you're going to want to do your texturing of your metal, because you can't do that before, because you don't, unless you're going to scribe out where the bird's going to be, your hammer texture. It looks like you used a punch or something on this.
Yeah,
what-
that was just to fill in the spaces where I did the messy dust.
Okay, so you
So-
may not do, well,
That
let's
was an afterthought.
pretend, let's pretend that you,
That one was proof of concept. So
if you do want to do texturing like that, the only way you can do it without putting the bird on is to scribe around where you want the bird, and then be very careful about not punching underneath it. Because if the lumpier it is, the less your applique is going to solder on there.
Yeah.
You want as flat as humanly possible there. And then I would go ahead and put my silver dust on after I did the bird. So you're going to have to use, I would use yellow ochre or whiteout on the bird, so that in
Okay.
case you do slobber some on there, some of the dust. The other thing you could do too, you could also use our laser cutter at Chimera, and cut out a vinyl sticky to put on top of it when you sprinkle, so you don't, then you peel it off. You know what I mean? Does that
Right.
make sense? So anyway, then you'll want to put flux all where you want the dust to be. I would tripod this and heat from underneath if you can, and heat it until you get your melt on there at that point. I wouldn't put my frame on until almost, it's this right before the last step. So I would do the frame after I put the silver dust on, and then I would put your bail on.
okay.
And I can't see an easier way to do it order wise. So for
Okay.
me, it's sweat, dust, frame, bail.
So I would need to file off a space
Wait, where?
on the dust.
Wh-
Right?
Wait, let me.
I
What?
love it when I stump Nancy. This is
Well,
good.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, so on here, what are you talking about?
Okay. So
Putting
here, I
this
have
on after you've applied the dust?
if the frame, the outside part,
Right.
Oh, right.
if I put that on after, I'm gonna have to like file the back plate.
You're putting flux down,
Right.
and flux should be holding it. You could actually rub your finger around the edge and clean it up before you fuse it.
That's
Take a
true.
toothpick, go around the edge, remove it. I mean, there are ways where you could avoid doing that. If not, like you said, you could get your file out and run it
Just
around.
file a little file. Okay.
It shouldn't be that much, Michelle.
But if you did like masking tape,
Yeah, I mean, it's the same concept
Yeah.
as the sticky vinyl on top, but I'm,
Or I could use ochre
yeah,
to paint a border too.
yeah, you could, but yeah, totally. But I like the toothpick idea myself, is take it off before you even fuse it, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
And I would definitely heat from behind.
Nancy,
Yesy.
is the solder that you're talking about, is it the kind of solder that you can use when you're doing ceramic and silver together?
The
I
IT
just had this, I found. this
I'm
in
stumped
Word.
on that. I don't work.
Well, when
with
you,
ceramic, it's-
when you said the IT solder for the,
Oh, well, that for you, for enameling, yeah.
when you were talking in the very beginning about soldering, you could either use hard or what was the other
Eutectic
kind?
or IT, which are both close to full silver
Oh, got you. Okay.
solders. So the hard has, I can't remember the percentage,
Yeah,
like
it's
80
okay.
something.
I thought you meant that you could use this kind of solder that you use with enameling.
You can,
Oh.
that's what I use for enameling is the eutectic or the IT.
Yeah, that's what I have.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
okay, because I have
you
a
really-
whole sheet of that. 'Cause I dabble in enamel, but
Oh,
not
okay.
so much. So I have a whole sheet of that laying around. And I thought, oh, great, now I can't use it on anything else. But now I
No,
know
you
I
can certainly
right?
use it
Okay,
in jewelry making. And the reason
Great.
I said such a high melting solder is because Michelle is going to be soldering oh, that's another thing we wanted to talk about. When you're sweat soldering that bird on, after that's done, and then what she's going to do is she's going to bring that back plate up to like red hot to fuse the dust. There's a potential for your center element to float off the solder and come out of position. So this is made by my friend Chris Anderson from Lion Punch Forge. Some kind of hold down would help to keep it from moving.
A weighted something.
You can make these out of binding wire too, but this is also a cool tool because you can change out the ends and have different shapes on the end.
That's
But
pretty cool.
yeah, it is. It's fun. So do you feel okay about that, Michelle?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I did a second one and had better luck. I thickened the middle bird because it was really thin. Was using like 24 gauge.
Well, why would that be a problem? Was it buckling?
I melted it.
Oh, well, you know what? Swear to God, heat from behind.
Yeah.
You don't even have, like,
Heat-
if you were using like a 24 gauge, you wouldn't even have to heat the top of that piece. I would just stay
Okay.
underneath it.
Okay. And then, yeah. And then with the dust, heat from behind for the dust too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an underutilized technique. And I think it's really important to use it more because it's, especially if you're soldering anything tiny on the front side, which dust is incredibly tiny. And
Yeah.
plus it'll keep it from blowing off.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
'cause you're
was
not-
why I got like those naked spots.
The only thing
The
you have to
first time.
watch, I know that at Chimera a couple times when I did a class, we didn't have enough tripods, so we did this and straddled the metal across. That can be disastrous, especially if you're bringing
Sag.
something up to fusing temperature, you're gonna sag, or it can actually snap in the middle,
Okay.
especially Argentium silver, which is a beast when it comes to sagging.
Okay. Well, I have a tripod. Excellent. Thank you, Nancy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a question on that too. So I have like a buttload of those fire bricks just because I
Uh-huh.
have them on the base of my table. So if I use one of those, the heavy, which I use generally those kiln grates.
Uh-huh.
So if I do that between the two fire bricks,
Yes.
I should be able to get under there and get enough heat.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
definitely use the fire bricks at Chimera to make tripods. The only thing that you're oh, it's heavy. Actually, Amber likes to solder on these, and
Like when I do jump rings and stuff, it's a large surface.
the deal with the tripod is, they come with this heavy duty steel grate screen on them, and the problem with that is that the steel is it just sucks the heat away from the piece. So
Yeah.
I always order separately the thin, like almost like window screen, but heavier,
Mhm.
so my kiln grate is pretty heavy. Let me look at it.
I find that I usually have to heat the grate up first.
Is yours look like this?
No, I'll get mine. Hold on. I
This
will
one
be
is
right back.
pretty thin metal. This would be all right. That
And I
looks
think-
like the heavy one. So you're okay with that?
Yeah, I do everything on it and I just do it warm water and I brush it off and so it's clean. But
Oh,
that's
wow.
everything. I make a hole in the pumice and I heat under by going from the side.
Okay, you have it in pumice too, like in a nailing pan?
Yeah, well, I have a cake pan that I put a Lazy Susan under, and
Yeah.
So Nancy, sorry to butt in,
No.
we can get a thinner screen
Yes.
because I have that monster too, and it's super hard for me because it does suck the heat out of.
Yeah, especially if you're using a smaller torch. Yeah, the bigger torch tips help a lot. Do we bring the, and if you're using butane, this is like the size I use.
yeah, I use that one too.
You get good at not melting stuff
Yes.
after
Yeah.
you melt a bunch of stuff. But honestly, a bigger tip would help with that. But there is one that's sold for jewelers that are the one we had just showed with the big hole in it.
Is that
Okay.
right?
This one's like double or triple thick of a window screen. You know?
Yeah. Is that a hole in the middle, or is that?
Yeah, it burned out over the years, but it's great for some things.
Yeah.
When I was researching torch fired enamel, the guy
Yeah.
online does the hole in the middle.
Yeah, you can definitely do
Oh,
enameling.
yeah, yeah.
So Rio Grande, maybe, as far as jeweler supplies go, to get that
Probably.
screen?
Yeah, either them or auto fry. Jane, there you are. Hi, Jane. So Jane is wanting to solder silver balls on the back of a pendant before stone setting, and she wants to know what kind of flux and solder to use when adding fine silver spheres to sterling. And then we'll talk about the bricks, charcoal, honeycomb, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, let me show you her example of what she would like to replicate. Let's see how this pendant has a very
Oh,
large,
I love that one.
what do you call it? What are the balls called?
Granules.
No, not
Granules? I mean,
what? No, there's a
Reticulation?
technique. Can't remember.
granulation.
Granulation. This is like big ball granulate, big sphere granulation. And then her other side is going to be pattern. Is that true?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so one side's gonna have pattern, one side's gonna have the spheres, right? Okay,
Yep.
so obviously you're not gonna put your stone setting on until after you sphere, otherwise you'll end up.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do a stone. I just like it just the way it is
No
without a
stones.
stone.
Okay.
I
thought you
just
said-
don't know how to get the granules on there.
Okay, so there's 3, 4 ways, right? Something like that. So in granulation, they use something called hide glue. It's made from skin of animals or something. It's kind of gross.
Especially when you say it like that.
And you mix it with water. Usually it's fused. Those spheres look big enough that you could actually probably put little pieces of solder on the back of them and solder it on if you didn't want to go full fusing. But are you buying commercially made spheres or are you making your own?
Well, here's what I actually bought a bunch of fine silver casting grain, and I
Okay,
found enough in there that look pretty perfect.
so they're round. They don't have flat spots on them.
No, but that's what I was gonna ask. Do I need to flatten it?
Well, okay, so usually what I do is I make jump rings that are when I melt the jump ring, it's the size of the sphere I want. So sometimes it's trial and error. So I might start with a 2 millimeter or 3 millimeter or cut them in half. So what the making your spheres out of jump rings does is it guarantees that they're consistently sized. And when you're melting them on, where's our block?
Do you have a charcoal block?
Because you melt it on a
Yes.
charcoal block and it creates a flat back when it's melted on a block, unless you drill a hole in it. So you've already got your flat back by making your own, which is why
You could just melt those.
Oh, okay.
yeah, you could remelt the balls on,
Yeah. Yeah.
charcoal.
But they might not be the same size. Like usually if I make balls the same size, I will cut it like pretty much exactly the same size wire and then ball it up, which you can easily do.
Yeah, or do the jump ring thing.
Yeah. Yeah, jumping.
I would remelt those spheres instead of trying to file a flat spot on all of them. You'll go insane. It would be crazy. You-
Okay,
You could use something like double-sided
yeah.
tape though. to
Yeah.
do it.
I forgot we brought that out for a reason.
If you want it organic, like and not.
What do you mean?
perfectly round?
Well, you stick it in, there's some really good tapes out. That one, that's a double stick craft tape that's really sticky. And you can stick the spheres into it and drag it along sandpaper, but it's a little, you lose a couple once in a while. And then there's this stuff.
okay.
I mean, that's if you don't want to remelt them and make new balls. This is called Joe's sticky stuff, but you can peel it off and roll it up. It's like a
Tacky.
this kind of thing. So
Would you use fine silver or sterling? Because I'm gonna patina.
I would use Argentium.
But if you were gonna
Oh,
use
okay.
one or the other, the fine silver, if you
Makes better spheres
Yeah.
by far, but Argentium makes the
I
best.
know, because I never get good spheres out of sterling.
No, the best spheres are
Okay.
Argentium, hands down. Also, one of the best fusers is Argentium. And then next, fine silver. So I wouldn't even bother with sterling as your granular elements on there. So anyway, so we talked about sticking it on with high glue. A much more simple solution is to just use flux, a lot of it, and preheat it to the tacky phase before it completely glasses. And you can set your spheres down into the sticky flux at that point.
Are you talking about liquid flux?
You could use whatever kind you like, but this is our new favorite. This is Rhonda, I think it's Rhonda Coriel's Purple Flux.
And she does granulation, I think.
Yeah,
I took a class with her at Revere like 19 years ago.
yeah, she's this is an awesome flux. When we heated it up, the metal had like almost zero oxidation on it after we were done soldering. So if your spheres are large enough, let's say they're like that big, you have flat backs, you could apply solder onto the back. But honestly, I think I would fuse those, because a pain in the butt to apply sweat, basically you'd be sweat soldering the spheres to it. And if you're putting
Okay,
50 spheres on the back of that thing, I think you would be much better off heating it from behind and then fusing. This is another
Okay.
underneath heating system.
okay. I'm glad
And-
you said
and-
that about the underneath.
Practice, get a couple of, use some scrap and check and try it till you get good at it. Yeah, sure.
When I've tried to
Perfect.
do that with the fusing, what I've ended up having problems with is that my back plate sort of, because it's Argentium, it's sort of,
Bags.
yeah.
Yeah, so you have to be fully supported.
Well, even with that, it just seems like, it's just all sort of sunk down, and I've had better results when I've used solder, because it doesn't have to get quite as hot, because it's not
Right.
into that fusing heat.
Right, because the fusing, you're almost completely melting
Yeah.
down.
Yeah.
You might benefit from trying that on just a piece of charcoal.
Okay.
In that case, with Argentium, it's because of its slumpability.
Yeah.
I think it has to be fully supported.
Yeah.
But for the balls, the spheres, they can be Argentium with a sterling silver back. So she
Okay.
could-
That was
trick
my other
with
question.
Argentium? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, what, Jenny?
I said, what's the trick with the Argentium? Because I bought it years ago and it's just been stuck in a drawer because I blow it up, literally. It like explodes on me.
That's really bizarre. I have never heard of that before. The only difference in it between it and sterling silver is I think it's 0.3% of germanium. The The
When
usually
it was quenched, I'm all reading about it.
what
No, it's when it had it on the, I can't remember if I had it on probably like a silk pad or something.
I'm reading this. It says hazard identification, inhalation, unusual fire and explosion hazard.
I know it does explode. Oh my God, it does. No one believes me.
Well, it's on when you go into Rio Grande, they have the SDS, the safety data
Yeah.
sheets. It says it there. So you can
Yeah, maybe I just got an explodable batch.
You know,
because-
right.
One thing I know is that you can't move it while it's hot
yeah, for sure.
because it will crack if you try to move it off of your block or anything while it's still,
Yeah. And
I did have the hold down on it. I did have the spider hold down on it. So I'm wondering when I was shifting it, that maybe.
You probably got it so hot with the hold down and all the weight on that. Are you using the big spider hold down or the little one?
Yeah, the big one. I only have. the
Yeah,
big
that's a
one.
lot of weight on really super uber hot metal. That could be partly what happened there.
Okay, that probably explains it.
I would try it again under normal situations, maybe not heating it up to, lava.
Yeah, I was using my butane torch then as I was being lazy and didn't want to go get acetylene.
I know I use this all the time when I'm too lazy.
I love that.
I know. It's a great torch.
It is. It just really is. You can fabricate anything with that.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like is that you cannot recycle the canisters, which I don't understand, but
I burned the hell out of my hand. So did you once.
oh
I
yeah,
remember.
well that was an enameling, torch
Yeah.
enameling.
I was in the heat of the moment and the thing slipped the tip and I tried to adjust it while I was soldering and well, I mean, I turned it off
Sorry.
and then did it, but it was still hot.
Oh no.
I gotta go. I'm gonna
I
try to
miss-
listen,
Aw,
but I'm gonna go audio. So
All
miss you.
Bye, Michelle.
bye. Thank
Bye.
you. Good to
We
see
won't
everybody.
talk about you.
I hope you do.
See you soon. Michelle's a Chimera member and
Oh.
one of our favorite people there. She's an amazing woman.
Jennifer asked what a poison ring is.
Poison ring is a ring that you can hide poison in.
Or back in the
Where's our little pictures? You can,
what do we do with
they
that?
open up, they have a hidden compartment. Like this is a poison ring and you can see that there's a hinge right here. It's very difficult to hide these little things. And this thing opens up, you put poison in, then you lock it down and then you slip your poison into your enemy's drink.
What
when you're at the
era?
feast.
Maybe Roman times? I don't know.
Yeah, the Romans,
something.
Greeks were into poisoning each other.
Yeah.
And
Nancy, I did make a poison ring that you just like pop the top off. I made it so that there was you were able to grab it. I textured like the outside of the lid so you could kind of shimmy it off
oh, okay.
because like I said, the hinge thing made me cry. So I thought I would do something.
You might,
That's fun.
let me show you this little container I made. This could be another interesting concept for a poison ring.
Yeah,
So this is just a compression fit.
that's exactly what I did.
Yeah. So Jane, do you have more questions?
Yes, you definitely answered my question.
Okay. So does anybody have any questions that they would like answered or need more information on a particular
Sure.
topic?
I'd like to go back to the jump ring scenario. They're my nemesis right now. I kind of stay away from them. So I hate making earrings. I stick to rings. So, okay. So when you're using the fire brick, you said you use them for your jump rings.
Mhm.
Are you just heating off to the side of the jump ring? Or you
I'm kind of just heating the whole thing up, but you have to be, I call it quick draw McGraw, you just gotta flick up as soon as it goes, and I usually have a little thing that I do where I put the solder underneath it. So it's kind of, this is the solder and then this is the ring. And as soon as it collapses down, it's usually flowed well. And I put that solder right at the seam too. So
Like continuous, like for chain and stuff.
yes.
Yeah.
And so then I just do them, I do that 3 method or something where I make a bunch of rings
Mhm.
and then I do the open ring and then I connect the jump rings to it and then just solder the one. And I just continually do that. And I usually use the third arm when with cross-locking tweezers, when I do the
Oh, soldering the links
the
together.
soldering the
Open ones.
yeah. And if it's real bad, I have to, like, if they're tiny, I have to be, really careful. But the finer tip and like the like kind of the Smith torch is a good one or something, nothing with
Okay,
like a super
you brought it
bushy
up.
flame.
Smith torch. So the blue light, I mean
Yeah. The oxidizing
gonna
flame.
poke your eye out flame.
Yeah.
or-
And
Hot and
don't
hard.
get too close with it because then you will melt them. So you have to kind of hold back a little bit.
With that torch.
You
With the-
kind, yeah,
Are
you get the
thinking
flow.
like a 7 or a 6 like on that, or smaller?
God, I always use the biggest one.
I don't ever look at the numbers. I don't know. I just like leave it in there.
Yeah.
Don't use the rosebud.
Don't use the tiny one.
Oh yeah.
Not the most tiny.
I
the
do have a
middle.
rosebud. That's funny.
Rosebud will make you spears.
Rosebud will melt your face off.
You make spears. So this is the best way that I've ever found. What Amber just said, where the solder goes under the seam.
And is that from like a 3 millimeter and up? Every single
Yeah.
very small-
Either that, or you know what you do is you get Argentium wire and you fuse them. I know.
I mean, it's not that. It's once you get the hang of it, and I do it with ring shanks too, and I stagger them. So one.
Yeah, I do that too, but I just use my acetylene.
Yeah.
I use the smaller tip on this, the oxyacetylene as well.
But she's going to acetylene air, right?
Well, I have a little Smith and an acetylene air.
Yeah. But when you say you're using your acetylene, you're talking about your acetylene air.
Yeah,
Yeah.
atmospheric air. That's what I meant.
Doesn't get as hot as the Smith torch, so you can actually hit the metal with the torch.
My AA. Well, it oxidizes so fast. It's like killing me. I know that's why I'm really interested, because the finer stuff, it oxidizes.
But you've got
Um,
pickle,
Yeah.
right?
I don't know. I'm just, like I said, it's a midlife crisis, jump ring crisis.
I swear, you probably just have a block, and then you just that one tiny trick. You're gonna be like, oh yeah, and then you're gonna get it.
I'm gonna do it.
Don't move around, hit that seam hard and fast and get in and out, especially if you're doing copper, brass, or bronze, because you've got so much. Hi, Denise. Welcome.
Hi.
You get so much oxidation. I see people heating up copper pieces and it's like, what are you doing? Stop heating the damn thing up. You're creating massive amounts of oxidation so that your flux no longer works and then nothing's going to flow because it's a dirt ball. So, for me, it's get in the area where you want that solder to flow, heat that thing up and get it done fast. So I think
Are you using rolled out solder wire, or sheet?
lately. I used to use rolled out solder wire. That's all I used. But now I was like, why don't you just use the damn sheet?
My
I just-
technique, I like that there's some height though. So I use the wire because that's how I know.
Unflatten.
Yeah, that's how I know once it sinks, it means that
Okay.
the solder flowed up into it.
I'm gonna try that, because
Why
yeah.
not? I don't like solder wire unrolled because I think that you end up with too much solder, but that's my thing. I'm a minimalist when it comes to solder.
Oh, I'm biscuits and gravy when it comes to solder. It's like
Everybody has their own thing that they do, it's all, as long as you're not spending your whole life cleaning up solder.
Andrea had a question.
Okay.
Did we answer your question, Jenny?
perfectly. Thank you.
No problem.
Ooh, that's a sad thing. She says she's had issues with melting gold back plates when making bezel setting. It happens when I'm flowing solder, forgetting the bezel wall solder to the back plate. It seems like once the solder melts, the bezel wall or back plate also starts melting. I'm using 26, 24 gauge for bezel and back plate. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong. Are what gauge gold are you using? What carat gold are you using?
For most stuff, I'm doing 14 karat right now.
Okay, are you using a 12 carat solder or 10 carat?
You're using 14 for all of it?
No, I'm using a 14 karat.
No, the metal's 14
Yeah.
carat. What about your solder? Same.
Mhm.
Drop your carat. Go down to if a 10.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
there is the issue with, with the melting temperatures are really close. You're also working with really thin stuff. So I think one of the things, are you doing a general all overheating thing and then you get the flow and then you walk it around, or are you spot?
Yeah, I
heating
mean,
it?
that's how I do it. That's how I do it for silver, and it works so well.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't seem to translate when I start working in gold.
The gold doesn't transfer heat like silver does. I mean, it's noticeably different. So gold is more, you focus on the spot where you want the solder to flow, period. And then, I wouldn't warm anything up. I would just go right in at that where the solder is. And then as soon as it runs, you move.
Is it gold or gold fill?
Okay,
Yeah.
gold.
Do you use easy solder? Or what solder are you using?
Sometimes I'll use easy solder, but for like secondary connections, not for that that primary
Yeah.
connection. I usually try to use hard.
Yeah, I wouldn't use easy at all. I never use easy.
I don't know.
I know you like, we disagree on this one. I use hard solder pretty much. That's it.
I use medium mostly.
I use
So,
hard and
but-
medium. I never use easy either.
We all have our thing.
I just thought maybe it would flow easier.
But honestly, if you use a lower melting, and I would definitely go down a carat on your gold solder.
Okay.
And try that and see how that works.
Okay. Yeah.
And then
I'll
hit
definitely
hard.
give that a shot.
And my favorite terminology in soldering is flick out, which is you don't take your torch out this way, you flick out.
That sounds funny.
I know.
Stop
Oh
the
my
heat.
God.
Stop the heat.
We just so we have other stuff we want to talk about, ladies.
I do have a back question on the necklace that Jane was trying to make with the spheres. And you had said something about fusing, Nancy. I've never done that, I don't think. So can you just quick explain it again?
Yeah, fusing, what you're doing is you're hoping your metals come to the flow point, not the flow point, but the melting point at the same time so that they molecularly join together.
Okay.
Most of the time you tend to fuse with like metals, but it's also possible, like sterling and argentium are basically the similar composition, so they're going to reach temp about the same level, but they're slightly different metals. And we were talking about, certain metals when they melt leave, like sterling silver leaves divots and pits sometimes. So we try to stay away from that when we fuse. Usually you'll use fine silver or argentium for that. And what you do is you're trying to bring both sides up to the same temperature at liquid. I think it's called liquidus is the point when it just starts to become slightly liquid and doesn't flatten out yet, so think of a sphere that's kind of just melting into the bottom plate, but still retaining its top shape.
Okay.
What generally happens when people first learn how to do this is this happens. Here, adios. So I like to do, practice with my scrap silver and then scraps of wire. And usually what you're doing is you're fusing something smaller on top of a larger back plate. So generally you're going to want to heat from the backside on that. So use your tripod screen combination on that. Although like we were talking, Peggy, when Peggy said with working with Argentium, it's very slumpy. So we were talking about sticking with a charcoal block if you're using an Argentium backplate.
I wonder if that honeycomb would be,
Yeah.
but it might leave slumps.
Yeah, this is a honeycomb board, and they all end up broken like this. There's
Yeah. I
some
have
kind of
found
rule
it.
in the universe that you're going to drop it. And they
Whoever invented those.
I frankly look at all those holes for solder and granules to fall into, or other little things. So
People
these,
swear by them. I don't know.
I used them for a while, and I just got so tired of losing my solder down the holes.
Yeah.
That I quit.
Exactly.
But this is really nice because the heat, because it's open, the heat can flow back and forth in here. So this, I have not tried this for fusing, but I just had the idea that this might actually be a good fuser. Because one
Okay.
side's kind of lumpy, but the other side's very flat and smooth.
I'm gonna try that.
Okay.
today.
So
Yeah. Let us know
So-
what you find. Please, Jenny. So, go
So
on.
in regard to that heart-shaped necklace, so you're gonna put all the spheres on at one time and fuse that. Is that correct?
That's
you're
what
not
I would do.
Okay. And like you said, Nancy, I'm gonna practice, but there's gonna come a time where I can eyeball when everything's starting to happen, right?
Yes, you start
I
to
can-
see
okay.
shimmer. Your metal's going to get really red.
Okay,
Really red. And we're talking about, you've got like a fraction of a second. Once that metal starts to shimmer where they join, you're
Right.
flick out.
okay, okay,
And you're going to have to really do one at a time. Don't try to do the whole thing, but keep your eyes on the pieces around it, because sometimes something behind it will heat up more than the piece in front of it. So you really
Oh.
need to be very aware of what's happening all around that torch tip at all times.
okay. All
I
right.
would definitely start with small pieces,
Yeah, for sure.
couple of beads,
Okay, and then can I just throw one more question that I had out?
Well, I wanted to say one more thing.
Sure.
Just on that, I don't know if you've ever used Clearfire. Were you the one who's done enameling?
Yeah, I have used Clearfire.
You can use Clearfire too to hold your spheres in place.
Undiluted.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I
Okay.
do 50-50.
50-50.
Yeah, 50.
Yeah.
Don't use tap water. Use
Yeah, real good water.
Distilled.
Okay.
Distilled water.
Okay, so what was your other question?
So the other question is, I have never had like a real good torch. I've always used like the jumbo guy and then the little jumbo guy.
Yeah.
So I'm
Little jumbo.
finally, I'm finally at a place where I can buy a torch.
Oh,
I'm scared though about, stupid things like it blowing up and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
what is a good beginner's torch? And I'd like to get tips that are varied, like for very small jobs and then some bigger jobs.
okay. You're not in an apartment, are you, or a condo?
No.
You really need to, also, I would check with your insurance company. Honestly, and like we have wildfires here, and I have an acetylene tank in my studio, and
Okay.
I could kill a fireman, or firewoman if the fire was here with my tank. So that's something to be very aware of, is what safety wise.
What's the B tank is the legal size to have in your house in the studio?
I don't know. You have to look in your area. It depends.
Okay.
Depends. So check it. You maybe talk to the fire department or something. Propane's probably going to be your best bet. A propane
Okay.
oxygen setup,
Awesome.
because the propane can be in like the barbecue propane thing. And you
Yeah.
can fill them anywhere, and they're probably the safer gas. Propane sinks, right? Acetylene rises. I think propane sinks. So if you're ever worried
Yeah.
about a leak, you walk in and kick before you go in the room fully. And that supposedly kicks up the stench to know if you've got a leak. But
Just every time you go in the
Turn your
room, start
vent when
kicking.
you-
Well,
before you start.
in Auto Fry, they do have a little torch that they offer. I'm
is
sorry,
it
what?
it's a small propane?
Yeah, it's a small propane tank, but they've got the hand one with it with the little tips. And is that something I could?
I'd have to, why don't we continue this at an email? I'll take a look
Okay,
at
great.
those later for you and see what I think.
Sure.
the thing is, the oxygen tanks have to be huge because you use a lot more oxygen than you do propane.
Okay, yeah, I don't want to bogart everybody's time, so yeah, I'd love to hear more.
Yeah,
later.
yeah, just send me, in an email, a couple of the links you're looking at, and yeah, I'll tell you. And all of them come with different, I mean, all besides these cooking butanes come
Okay.
with different size tips.
Okay,
With the little torch, I've used 2 tips in the last 25 years. The rose,
nice.
which is the big one, and the biggest little one that they have, because they're so tiny. Drives me up a wall.
Okay,
But that's me too. I have a Goss,
yeah.
the Goss torch, and it's 3 tip that I use constantly. I've only changed the tip for bigger when I'm doing making ingots. But I use the number 3 Goss. And the Goss is a nice setup. But it's acetylene air. So I honestly think if I had my druthers and I was going to start all over again, I would buy propane oxygen. Cleaner,
okay,
great for doing torch enameling.
okay.
Yeah, it's just, and safer, cleaner and safer. Acetylene's a
Okay.
scary BS.
It's more expensive.
Yeah.
Acetylene's more expensive.
Yeah, and you have to, you're not even in California, you're not even supposed to put it in your car. The only way you're supposed to transport is in an open area like a back of a pickup truck. It's so dangerous. The accidents occur with these plumber guys, and they throw these tanks, these acetylene tanks in the back of their car, leave them in the car overnight. They didn't have the valve shut properly. They hit their car, unlock, and the
my
thing blows
God.
up.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
I
Oh,
have
wow.
the blowback. I have the blowback, all the stuff on all of my tanks.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what
all of
I-
those
I'm
things.
just-
And whenever you
it-
turn them on, make sure you're over to the side. Like when
Yeah,
you
that's what I mean, girls. I'm too scared of that stuff.
And
so
never
anyways.
light it with a lighter.
Yeah. And then the other thing is you can't ever go past 15 PSI or the tank could blow up.
I've used it for years. I've never had issues with it, but I'm
No,
really
but
safe
run
with it.
a makerspace and see how many idiots are in there trying
I
to kill
know.
themselves. I mean,
Yeah.
we've gone in there and the thing's been cranked all the way to the top, and the only reason it didn't blow up is we were out of gas.
It's
Oh my
because when
gosh.
you turn the tank off and release the pressure, they actually tighten the pressure. So when you turn the tank back on, you're like, ah. So
I
you
know.
always have to loosen all the knobs and stuff, or tighten the gas tank, but loosen the other knobs.
Sorry,
So.
I've gone, what do they call it when they walk
Rogue
it?
or walkabout.
So, okay, so let's talk more stuff. What do you guys like for soldering on? Who's favorite? Who likes
Nancy's
charcoal?
question.
Anybody like charcoal to solder on? One. That's my favorite. I use charcoal. And do we know all about binding wire and quenching? Yeah.
No,
No. Who's the no?
Cindy,
Cindy. It's hard to tell because I can't read your
That's
lips.
highlighted.
sorry.
So there's 2 different kinds of charcoal. Basically, there's hard and soft charcoal. The soft charcoal you can stick pins in, steel pins, and hold things in place and stuff like that. But the problem with it is it breaks apart like icebergs. These chunks come off it. So what we do is we wrap steel wire. What is that?
Binding wire.
16
Oh,
gauge,
okay.
18 gauge steel wire around it, and then you knot it, and then you make these bends in it with pliers where you just go, you take the pliers and twist. And what you want is a tight band around this to keep it from falling apart.
Okay,
Bigger
gotcha.
binding wire, you just wrap it around like
Twist it
3 times
together.
Yeah.
Okay,
But quenching your block is probably the best way to keep your block lasting forever or as long as possible.
Just spray it with water.
I have a
Okay, that I do not know. So quench the charcoal. All right.
Yeah, I have a spray bottle with just regular water in it, and every single time I solder, I quench it, because if you don't think about it, charcoal briquettes, you leave them burning, they turn to ash, right? So if you quench this, you're not going to end up with these big holes in your charcoal. My block, the round one I have, is probably 6 years old, and it looks almost brand
Whoa.
new.
Wow, I'm
So,
amazed.
so, oh, and then
Even for high density too.
what did you say?
High density.
I usually almost always use the high density hard
Okay.
charcoal. This one, look how big it is. Oh, I just get so excited.
Where did you get that again?
Look, compare.
I have a big round one. I love
Yeah,
it.
this is bigger than the round one.
Really?
I have the round one too. And it's like when you're using
Such a pretty baby.
Chris's tool, try doing that on the little charcoal block. It doesn't fit. So I found this auto fry in Oakland, California. But it came damaged. It's got a big clunk and it broke in half. So I just put a double layer of binding wire around it. And it's been good for a year now. So yeah, you can't even tell this has hardly been used. There's no divots, there's no burnouts in it. And I've had this almost a year. So that quenching really works.
I made I took a piece of aluminum flashing, made sort of like a little tray for it to sit in, so that
that's cool.
I've seen
sit down on something that was, protecting the other side of it too, but I can still flip it back and forth if I need to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Nancy, I had a question on so I saw this little trick the other day on Insta, I don't remember who, but where they were melting ingot and they were just using their tweezers to form it into did you see that too? But they said that their instructor had showed them a long time ago, and they get it up to they have their silver blob that they melted, and they just use their tweezers. They have long tweezers to just form it into to be ready for wire, basically to roll wire.
They did it like clay, kind of like smushed it.
It's like they just smushed it, like, oh,
that's crazy.
Rectangle now. Ooh, yeah, it was really cool. It's like they smushed it, then flipped it over a little bit, and then smushed it again, ready for wire. It was brilliant.
Yeah, I wonder if it would crack.
That's what I was wondering.
Of the
but
whatever you call it when you
move progression video of her of it, and it looked pretty springy and stout.
So Denise, where are you?
I am in my studio.
Oh my God, what a great studio.
Thank you. My studio probably surpasses my smithing talents, but I do a lot of enameling.
You do a lot of enameling. So far away, I thought it was thread initially, but that's all enamel, isn't it?
Yeah, I finally decided that I had to start setting
lighting. Oh my gosh.
You had to start what?
Setting some of my enamels. So I do a lot of, I make my little cabochons.
Oh yeah.
See.
I do that too.
I love that. Have you ever tried powder coating?
I have not.
Oh my God. Scary. It's so much easier than enameling, and it doesn't chip, and you don't have to worry about bending it. It's just, and there's 10 billion colors, and you can dip it and put it in a toaster oven, and oh my God.
It's like a plastic. It's what you put on paint that you put on
cars. And one day we're going to get to that video on doing
Oh, I want to see it. I want to see
too.
it.
Oh, what do you got?
It's my mold that I use.
Oh yeah.
So I can make it skinnier or bigger, but
that's nice. Where'd you get that?
Germany. This person that sells it, it's amazing, but I can't figure out how to use it correctly. So you can make this wider. This goes out. There's this holds it together, bottom piece. So I can make it bigger this way, or almost like small sheet, but but yeah.
Oh, that's pretty.
What happens when you use it?
So I mean, it's super sturdy. I don't know if I'm not getting it hot enough, or if my acetylene is, I don't know. Maybe I'm scared something's gonna happen. I just don't do well when I'm pouring ingot.
Is something happening, or are you just afraid something's happening? There's a difference.
Well, I can't gauge so I tried doing 14 karat ingot, and I made it so fat. So I guess when I'm pouring it out of the crucible, like stays flat, do I need to like drag it, or do I, because it has a stop right here where you can it concentrates on that, and this is a little area you have to gauge. So I do use a small crucible. I also have an electric melt, but that would be too overkill to even try to get it in.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. You're gonna have to figure out the volume capacity of what size you're doing, and then figure out the weight for that volume on that. But I would definitely heat that thing up in the kiln. I think that could be
Really?
because
Okay.
it should flow on its own.
Is it all just heavy steel, or?
Yes, it is a
Yeah,
beast.
I can see why you found love. But
I was some of the things
yeah.
that I put on here was ventilation and the importance of using a mask, because I don't want people to get sick.
The thing that I heard was the finer the particle, the deeper it goes. So if you definitely should have the particulate N95 particulate mask on at all times, and it's uber important. I mean, I know I even cheat and do things like hold my breath. But really, it's really stupid.
They're so hard to get those now.
Yeah, I know, and they're so good with the breather on the front.
I got some of the cartridges, and they're not the normal ones from 3M, but I just bought them. I haven't tried them out yet because I need to switch them out. But I got the 3M half mask. Yeah. And then Auto Fry has a different type of, because those are hard to get right now.
Yeah.
And at the building stores, they seem to, I mean, at least here in Salem, they have those now.
The other thing is to have desktop ventilation, which is real. I wish it wasn't so pricey, but they're awesome. And if you can afford one, I would definitely go for it. But other than that,
you did, Nancy. I followed your tutorial. That's how I do mine.
Yeah,
I have one like that as well.
The inline fan thing works for soldering, works great.
And you taught me something when I was setting mine up. I just used a fan that pulled out before, is I got a piece of paper and I burned it. And when the smoke was billowing or whatever, I made sure it had direct suckage.
And didn't go in front of your face.
Yeah, and that's a way to tell. Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So we had it just vented out. I don't know if you can see it, but no, you can't. It's just vented outside.
Yeah, right out the door, right?
Well, right out the wall when we built this house, because he built this studio for me on our house.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, so I've really, really enjoyed having that ventilation, and I have it on a variable switch.
Yeah, that I find is really nice to have. It's the cheapest system I've ever found for fume ventilation, but that's ideally that would not be a dust collection unit.
No. I have a dust, so I've been using Bench Junkie's Pure MS system, that sucks down. But but I find, and I even turn it up high, that particulates still float around.
Yeah, I think a mask is imperative even with that, unless I've seen a couple of systems that are like so good that nothing escapes.
But those silicone wheels and they're putting off a lot of stuff.
Oh, awful crap, awful. And not to mention all the metal dust, and it's, and like I said, the smaller the finer is, deeper it goes. That stuff is like powder. So, it's compacting in there. Chemicals stuff, like, God, I was looking at some of the chemicals we used the other day, these awful chemicals. I wouldn't use that inline fan for a chemical hood. I think if you're going to be using chemicals that are that corrosive, you have to do it outside somewhere.
Are you talking about like pickle and stuff, or
it was.
Is it cadmium?
It's in plating, in gold plating.
Oh,
Oh,
see,
right.
okay. So I do have a plating system that I got, and that, yeah, I can tell.
I was so afraid to use that for the first time I had on. I bought the chemical resistant apron, and I had the ventilator that was for chemicals, and I had gloves just to use a pen plater because I was
Yeah,
terrified.
I'm gonna do that route too now.
What do you have? What's that?
This book here
Oh yeah, that's an awesome book.
Oh, I haven't
has a
seen
lot of
that.
ideas for different chemicals that we use and how to make it a bit safer. Also with ventilation ideas, and yeah, so got a lot of good ideas in it.
Yeah, that's a great book.
I was given some samples and I've been using it in the beginner jewelry classes like Chimera, of this brand from Rio Grande, which is called Luxie, and it is a polishing compound that is silica free. So it's less, yeah, there you go. That's a sample pack.
vegetable based, isn't it?
I
Really?
think so, yeah. And it
Yeah.
works well. And they have ones for your buffing wheel, and then they have ones that are lower speed for your rotary tool.
Oh,
What's
wow.
it called? What's it called again?
Luxie, Luxi.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
And I don't feel stressed
like
if
it.
they were polishing at the bench, you know, it's
still not great,
I mean, you wear a
but-
mask, but it's not as crazy.
Yeah, it says it's made from vegetable fats and alumina abrasives in a water-based compound.
And they're color coded, and then,
There's little brick. Well, this is the sample pack. I got that from the Bench Tool Junkies
Oh, okay.
monthly subscription box.
That'll probably last you 10 years.
Yeah, they've got like a whole bunch of different.
Oh my
Girls.
God. I bought.
How do they differentiate from the from the normal set high speed polisher and then the flex shaft? You said that they differentiate.
Yeah, they just have a different abrasive
Formula.
There's like she probably has, it's like a big, you open it up and there's like a
Yeah,
big
it's got
chart
the
and it tells
guide.
you which ones
There, like that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and
Yeah.
so that's a sample of each one that they have.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
all the different colors.
I've
like-
been wanting to try that. I just haven't.
I was surprised. It's good.
I have
I
like
was too. I tried it last weekend and I wasn't so sure. I was like, well, okay, I'll give it a shot, but it worked really
I
nicely.
have so
Oh,
much
good.
Zam left.
what?
I like to use Zam.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I've kind of used only rouge.
Yeah.
And silicone, but I use the silicone knife edge.
I use the Zam on my cabs too, like my turquoise cabs and different stuff too.
Oh yeah, I was talking to somebody online. They said they ruined a stone, and I was like, "No, you didn't. We can fix that." And I told her about going in like with an abrasive grit on her flex shaft on a like a felt wheel, and then moving down to diamond polish, because I've done that many times where I've been like doing my bezel setting and the thing called that rubs things down.
Burnisher.
My burnisher slipped and cut across the top of an opal, gouging it. And I, after I cried, I got the stuff out and went to work on it and fixed it. I don't know if you guys have done this either, where your bezel's too small and you don't want to redo the whole thing. You grind your stone down to fit.
No,
That's a good
The
one.
backside, yeah, I have.
I haven't done that, but I've definitely done the burnisher thing about 5,000 times.
Oh yeah, it's so easy. But since I
Yeah.
discovered these, oh my God, the best tool ever. I love this thing. The bezel punch. You've seen these?
Yeah, so I have a set of those.
You ever use them?
No,
They're really
It's hard if you have oval though.
well.
I
No,
know
they
mine
don't
are
work.
mostly oval.
They don't work for oval. They're for round. But
I know, that's why I never use it.
oh my God, you just like put it on and go like this, and it's done.
I got it to do like, when you make bezels out of rods and stuff, but
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, some of these, most of these are like tube size, but like for tube
Yeah.
set stuff, and
Mhm.
I thought it was such a clever idea. I was
Andrea, do you find that you have a hard time setting the gold bezels? I think gold is so hard sometimes to push over. Drives me crazy.
Oh yeah. So it's really hard. I ended up learning how to like hand hammer the bezel down
That's
because
what I
it's just
do.
too hard to like. I can't get enough leverage to get that stuff over, even if it's like 26 gauge.
Do you
bezel.
file a bevel on the edge of your bezel?
No, not really.
Kind of thin.
No, I'll hammer it down and then go over it with a silicone wheel to kind of smooth it out, get those hammer marks out.
Yeah.
And then I'll zap it with some Zam.
Zapazam.
Are you ingoting your gold?
To go like do nothing lower than 18 gauge back when I learned, because you said it was a nightmare. So I was just curious, because I've just done I've only done 18 gauge because this is like
a lot softer.
I haven't just risked it, whatever, but it's still hard to do.
On your gold, are you using fresh gold, or are you melting and reusing?
Just fresh.
I do a little bit of both.
Gold.
For back plates, I'll remelt, and that's been okay, but not the bezel.
So yeah, I've got bezel, and I've got scrap gold, but I just that's what I was thinking about, is melting it for the back plate.
Yeah, I do simple. I'll blob it up and then just pound it out, on my steel block
for 14
to
karat.
whatever gauge I want. Mostly use 14. Mostly use 14 karat.
She wants me to get an electric hydraulic press now. It's good.
That's what I have.
You have one? Lucky you.
Yeah, just upgraded it. I think I was too mad at him, and he's like, "What can I buy you to make your life better?" I was like, "Oh." No, he got it for our anniversary. We've been married for like 23 years. I don't know.
Yeah, long time, huh? That must be really nice, because cranking that press, especially when you're trying to form.
It was killing me, and now I'm like, I would probably use an electric rolling mill more than the press, though.
I saw you had a hydraulic press.
That's my favorite tool. Yeah.
Who made that one?
It's Dakota Dog. It was a gal that she wrote a book, and then she suggested this company, whatever. It's kind of fashioned like it's a cheaper version of the Bonnie Doon. It's made like it, and all the pieces work with it, but it's not. And it's a Dakota Bulldog, and Bulldog. And I think they stopped making them, but I love it.
Of them. I love its pink.
Yeah, it is my.
I'd put some rhinestones on that puppy.
Yeah, for sure. But
so Denise, I want to hear a little bit about you, each one of you, before we sign off. So how long you been doing this, and what kind of stuff do you do? And
I've been enameling for, I don't know, probably 6 years, and just recently started making settings for them, just very recently.
Nice.
I've watched a lot of your videos and just kind of had to step into it. I watched so many videos, finally it's like, okay, just do it. So I have my little torch area, but so I'm
cool. So can we can see your work on that thing link you get?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I
do like
oh, and you have a ventilation system back there, right? Is that?
I saw it.
Yeah. What are you using?
What's the Heiko or whatever?
Oh, you got the Heiko?
Yeah. I just got that for Valentine's Day.
You guys are doing something right. I hasn't done by me nothing.
I know.
He did buy me what's that thing called? A microscope.
Oh, well, that's good. I have the Smith little torch, and I want to get a bigger torch, and I just don't know yet what I want, but I was listening to you guys, so giving me some ideas.
Okay, so now we need Jenny. How long you been doing it? What kind of stuff do you do?
Well, I don't think I've been doing it that long. So 2014.
It's longer than you think. That's 7 years.
Well, I'm a third generation.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, my grandparents, yeah, up in Alaska where I was born, they had a shop in Seward, and they did bench work for K's or Zales. I don't know. They were a casting house, and they also did their own stuff, and they did stained glass. And so when they decided to stop doing that after the earthquakes and stuff, moved down to Washington State, and we started a cattle ranch. I was with them a lot. They had all of their setup, and I would spend hours watching my grandma make. So yeah, I'm just internet taught and learn from them.
Yeah. Andrea, what's your story?
Well, I started teaching myself like wire work when I was in college around 2001. Just kind of been self-teaching myself over the last, I don't know, almost 20 years. And recently have started delving into gold because I love gold so much. So it's very selfishly motivated, but I'm going to expand more into gold in my work.
You need to do what turns you on, right? You know, if you get excited.
That's right.
I love gold too. I'm a 22 karat, 24 karat gold person, but
me too.
Buying that
I love
sheet every time
gold.
You go to Rio and you put it in your cart, and you're like, oh man, $3,500.
I think you like lose 5 years of your life looking at it.
Start clutching my pearls.
I ended up, I was like, okay, I'm buying a sheet, buying some gold. And I get on there and I look at the price and I keep changing now it's 14K, you know, and then pretty soon I ended up buying bimetal. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it.
I like to mix silver and gold a lot, and then you oxidize the gold, and I like that black and gold.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of that for to be frugal.
Either, and I've got a bucket from the PRMS guy, the blue bucket. So the good one that does the assay.
Ooh, wait, what? Who is it? Say that again in English slowly. Okay, he's an assayer.
Yeah.
What's his name? Pier Bucket?
Okay,
That's what I heard.
Hold that thought.
I'm all used to it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's good.
Precious Metal Refining Service.
Yes. All you have to do, and see, he sends you like, this is gold I have in here, a butt ton of silver. I mean, it's like super heavy. It's only like this full, I think.
How do you get it to them? You mail it?
They give you a thing. It ships back to them. You're supposed to save the box, but yeah, my cats destroyed that. So I'll have to get another box. But yeah, they pay for it to be sent. It's just you have to have a certain amount, and I think I'm over that. But their video on YouTube is amazing, and I can't remember if they do 95%. It's really high because they do a true assay.
Okay, thank you. That's great news.
This bucket, you put all of your sweepings. You put you wipe out your tumblers. You wipe out the polishing area. It takes everything in here.
Really, you don't have to sort them.
Everything.
I think it's time for the couch. Don't you?
Yeah.
It's time for a margarita.
Yeah, I was going to say vodka.
I'm a Grand Marnier girl myself.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all for coming. We had a really good time. Appreciate all your input and your ideas.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.